Guys, please keep it loud in here for the headliner today, Neal Rosen!
Well, hello, everybody. Gosh, this is awesome. What a great crowd. Thanks for coming out. Really appreciate it. Hey, another round of applause for Drew Jordan, please. And Brian Gendron. And like Brian was saying, you know, they produced this show. So like 4 or 5 months ago, Brian came to me and he said, Neal, listen, when we do the show, we can start it in the early slot at 7:30, or we can start it in the late slot at 10 p.m. You got a preference? And I was like, all right, let me get this straight, Brian. So we could start it at 7:30 or my bedtime? Let me think about this. Yeah, it had to be 7:30, right? This is the 50 for 50 show here, right? Yeah. It's already dangerously close to nighttime, you know. Nighty night for me after this. So let's do it. You guys ready? Let's go. All right. So yeah, I turned 50 on Monday, and evidence of my age is I've been married for 24 years. Yes. Thank you. I think I could just keep repeating that, and you'll keep applauding, so that's good. I like it. But yes, been married for 24 years, and as a veteran married guy, I can tell you that the saying is true. You don't just marry the person, you marry the... family. Wow. God, whoever said that is good at being married, or knows why they're not good at being married. Yeah. But it's true. You don't just marry the person, you marry the family. So if you get married, it's very important to understand how the other family operates. And it's especially important for me because my family is a very white, New York, Jewish family. And my wife's family is from Mexico and the Middle East. So a little different. So for example, if I'm meeting my family out for lunch and I'm 5 minutes late, everyone's freaking out. Like, we would call the cops. We thought you died. We know we should wait to order for you, order without you, you know. They're having a collective heart attack. On the other hand, if I'm meeting my wife's family out for lunch and I'm 5 minutes late, well, I'm early. Extremely early. And I make sure to bring a book. Because it could be a while. Lunch may never even happen. Yeah. Turns out time and schedules are just abstract concepts in my wife's family. So I've learned to adapt. Yes. But I love my wife's family. I really do. They're a great family. And speaking of lunch, the food from my wife's family is the best. I mean, come on, they're from Mexico and the Middle East. So the flavors and spices and food items that I've gotten to try and experience in the last 24 years being married to my wife's family have been wonderful and way better than anything I got to try with my white New York Jewish family. Like, way better. Because really, in my family growing up, we only had 3 flavors. Yeah, just 3. There was fatty, okay, salty, and needs salt. Yes. Yeah. And salt was very important. Yeah. My wife's family has a spice rack. We just had a spice. Salt. Yeah. Like, if you were seasoning something in my house growing up, you could either add salt or complain that it's too salty. Those are the seasoning options at your disposal. Yeah. But really, there are food items that I've gotten to try and experience in the last 24 years with my wife's family that I never got to try in my house growing up. Like a jalapeno. I never saw a jalapeno growing up. I never heard the word jalapeno. And a habanero, forget it. You could murder my entire family with a habanero. Oh, easily. There'd be like police tape around the murder scene. You know, some cop standing guard, you know, some guy would walk up, be like, "Officer, what happened to this family?" I'd be like, "Oh, you wouldn't believe it. Someone put a habanero in their matzo ball soup. It's too spicy, way too spicy. Poor family didn't know what hit them. Tragic, very tragic." Yeah. But really, there are things in my house today that I never had growing up, like chili powder. Yeah, the only time I saw chili powder as a kid was in a Tom and Jerry cartoon. And it made Tom explode. I remember sitting there as a kid, I'm like, spicy equals danger. Pass the salt, please. Yeah. That's dangerous. Yeah. So last year, at some point, my wife and I decided to try that 23andMe, the DNA genetic ancestry thing. Anyone try that? Yeah? Yeah, I remember we were really excited to try it. Like, as soon as the testing kits came in the mail, we opened them right away, and we read the instructions. And they were simple, right? It said, don't eat for 30 minutes, spit into a test tube, mail it in, right? So we're like, okay, we got this. So we didn't eat for 30 minutes, and then we each took a test tube and went off to a different bathroom. And I'm just starting to spit into my test tube when my wife comes running in and she said, "Oh, I messed up." I was like, how could you mess up? And she said, "Well, when I was trying to conjure up the spit, I started gagging and I threw up into the tube. You think it'll be okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. I mean, they didn't want us to eat for 30 minutes beforehand, but I'm sure sending them a tube full of vomit will not be a problem." No. So my wife had actually called 23andMe tech support. I wouldn't think they got a lot of calls. I think she woke the guy up, yeah. And the guy heard the story, and he's like, "Oh, we'll send you another tube." Yeah, that's for sure, yeah. But I kind of wish we sent in the vomit tube, you know? Don't you? Yeah? Just to see what came back, you know? Might have been like, "All right, Mrs. Rosen, we have your results. Interestingly enough, you're 43% Keebler elf?" We had not seen that before. Oh, and one close relative, a Chef Boyardee. You guys might want to connect. First cousins, yeah. But when we got the real results back, mine were not surprising at all. Okay, mine said that I'm 99% Ashkenazi Jew, which, if you don't know what that means, basically means I'm a very white, very Jewish guy. Through and through. And that's what it seemed like I was, so it wasn't surprising. I showed my results to a friend. You know what he said? "Boring." I was like, "Really? Boring? Like, would I really want entertaining DNA ancestry results? I don't think so. Like, would it have been better if it said I was 50% Samoan, you know? More interesting, but I would have had questions for Mom, you know? Like, "Mom, 50% Samoan? Any idea?" She'd be like, "Okay, Neal. I knew this day would come. And it's about time you knew the truth. Marvin here is not your father, no. Your real father is King Kamehameha. Down in Samoa, yeah. Let's just say me and some girlfriends, we took a nice trip to the South Pacific in the early 70s. You know how these things happen. Anyway, it's about time you take your rightful place by the throne, so I'll connect you guys." So. Maybe that would have been better, actually. Yeah. I'd be a Samoan prince. That'd be cool. So being married 24 years, my wife and I still go out on dates, right? It's good for marriage. Sometimes we go on dates with other couples. And I find that couple dating is very similar to regular single-person dating, but it's got its own nuances, you know? Like, recently, we were at a party, and we really hit it off with this other couple. We talked to them for hours, and at the end of the night, we exchanged phone numbers. So my wife and I, we got home, we were so excited, but then we thought about it and said, "Wait a second, who calls who first here? right? There's no ground rules for couple dating. But we thought about it. You know what we did? We called them first because it established us as the alpha couple. Yeah, we had a hand in the relationship right from the start. I recommend that. It's a thing, yeah. But look, we actually went on a date with that couple, and we had a great time. A wonderful time, in fact. And we were thinking, wow, this is the start of a really good relationship. But then you know what happened? A few days later, we were out running errands. We saw them out with another couple. I know. We were like, open relationship? I don't think so, yeah. It's not gonna work for us. Totally confronted them. We broke up with them right there, yeah. We don't have a lot of friends. My wife and I, I'm not sure why, we just don't. But look, sometimes you do have to end it with another couple. So I find that the breakup lines that couples use are pretty much the same as the breakup lines that single people use. You know, my wife and I will sit down with the other couple and be like, look, we had something really good. It was fun for a while. But it's not really working out anymore. I think we both know it. But we want you to know, it's not you. It's you. You we like. You're an ass. So we like 50% of you. So if you're ever with someone else, you know. All right. Quick intermission here. Yeah. Turning 50 Monday, getting up there in age. I'll just keep repeating that I'm turning 50 a few times. Like, a lot of applause. Did I say I was married 24 years? Did you guys hear that? And I'm turning 50 Monday? Did you guys get that? Yeah. Cool. Nice. I can do another 40 minutes of that. That's good. But yeah, I'm getting up there. I know it. And look, for example, my dad is 86, right? So, by the way, interesting thing about my dad I want to share. He's got this streak that he's maintained for the past couple of decades. Really interesting streak. All right, here's the streak. Every email my dad has ever sent has been in all caps. Every single one. Yeah. My dad has emphasized every word he has ever typed. And, you know, he doesn't know. He has no idea. It's just that his tech support team hasn't had the time to teach him email etiquette or how the caps lock button works, you know, so. No, we haven't had time because we're too busy working on other things, like getting Dad's money back from that Nigerian prince. And removing the 17 bogus virus protection programs that Dad has installed. And also an ongoing one is teaching Dad how to order an Uber with his flip phone. It's not easy, folks. Never try that. And last year, the big thing we worked on, and this took like everyone's efforts, was getting Dad onto a Zoom meeting. Oh, that was like all hands on deck, you know? We were like NASA mission control on that one, yeah. There was like multiple go teams, you know, the video team, the audio guys, you know, the Wi-Fi group, mouse and mouse pad teams. It all came together, though. And I have to say, like, when we first saw my dad join a Zoom meeting, it was like witnessing the moon landing. Totally. Yeah, it was on par. It was miraculous, you know? Like when the first images came through, you know, of my dad's face. Or really a third of his face. Because his webcam is always... We still haven't licked the webcam problem. No, I mean, to this day, as we get on Zoom with him, we have no idea which portion of Dad. It's a little scary, let me tell you. I'll give you some time to absorb that. It's fine. So I'm poking fun at my dad for struggling with technology, but look, I struggle with technology. You know, like even with email. I struggle with email just like my dad. Here's my challenge with email. It's when I need to send an attachment. Why does it always take me 2 emails to do this? It always does, you know? First email will be something like, "Dear team, I've attached that document we discussed. Please let me know if you have any questions." Followed by a second email that says, "Oops! Oopsie! I forgot the attachment. Remember that attachment I mentioned in that professional sounding email? Well, here it is in this stupid sounding email. Makes me look like an imbecile. But of course, before my second email makes it out, the messages from everybody else start pouring in. Hey, Neal, where's the attachment? Hey, Neal, you forgot the attachment. Hey, idiot, no attachment? And there's always one guy who writes, hey, Neal, I'm having trouble opening the attachment. And I love that guy, because he trusts me. He's sitting there like, Neal said there was an attachment. It would not be like him to forget it. It's got to be stupid old me, so. My favorite colleague, folks, my favorite. That's a lot of jokes about email. You might be wondering, gee, Neal, you have any jokes about technology from, say, this century? I do, actually. How about Twitter? Let's talk about Twitter. I have a weird situation with Twitter. All right, here's what it is. I have a Twitter account, but I never send any tweets. But here's the weird part. There are still tweets sent from my account. I know you're like, what? Let me explain what's going on. I work at a software company, and I'm one of our senior guys, so the marketing department has access to my account, and they send out tweets on my behalf, like announcing events coming up, or saying smart-sounding things about our industry, stuff like that. And I agreed to it. The problem is, most of the people in the marketing department are like 24 years old. So I feel like sometimes the tweets they send out on my behalf are not quite in my voice, you know? Like last week, they sent out a tweet from me that said, hey, bruh, our software conference is going to be lit. You're going to be big mad and down bad if you don't pull up. Bruh, no cap. See, that's just not my voice. Like, who says lit anymore, right? It's so 2021, you know. Come on, bruz. Yeah. I don't know if you can say bruz. I don't know. Writing that joke took a lot of effort. I had to employ my teenage son to do that. I'm like, what are things humans say that are your age? Let's see. So I mentioned I work in an office, and I work in software, and we're back in the office. And so after 2 years remote, we are back in the office. You guys, anyone returning to the office here? Yeah, a little bit. I'm glad to return to the office. I really am. Because in the office, in person, you can really see how your colleagues are doing. You know, get a feel for it. Like, I love first thing in the morning when people are like in the break room and they're feeling very refreshed, you know, they're rested. And I'll be like, hey, Bill, how you doing this morning? Another day, another dollar, Neal. I'm like, nice. Bill is ready for the day, you know. And I'll be like, hey, Mary, how about you? How are you this morning? Can't complain, Neal. Nice. Bill, Mary, they're ready for the day. They're feeling good. But then by the middle of the day, they start to get stressed out a little bit. They tire out. Things aren't going as well. You know, I'll see them like after lunch. And I'll be like, hey, Bill, how's your day been going? Same shit, different day, Neal. Okay. Hey, Mary, how about you? How's your day going? I'm just a cog in the machine, Neal. The man is keeping me down. Jeez, Mary, hang in there, you know. And then by the end of the day, they just had it, you know. Like, I'll be leaving the office for the day. I'd be like, hey, Bill, how'd your day go? It's a freaking nightmare, Neal. My life has no meaning. I'm like, oh. Hey, have you seen Mary around? Yeah, she quit. Got herself out of this hellhole. Okay. You still going to the softball game, Bill? Yeah, I'll see you there. Yeah, okay. Cool. Okay, you guys like that one. That's good. Makes my office sound terrible, doesn't it? So I was talking about email and Twitter. I have this idea for a new technology product. Okay, I want to share with you. And I have more than just the idea. I wrote a commercial for it. All right, so let me get a sip of water here, because this is a long commercial. All right, so here's my commercial for my new technology product idea. Do you struggle just to figure out how to pay for something these days? Venmo, Zelle, PayPal, Google Pay, Apple Pay. I mean, talk about confusing, right? Right? And also, did you swear off using a cell phone after participating in a siege or a legitimate political discourse event so you can hide from the FBI? Anybody? You can tell me, it's okay. Well, if you answered yes to both of those things, then have I got the payment system for you. Introducing Bag of Cash. See, with Bag of Cash, no more phones or confusing apps to deal with. All you need is a bag and some cash. For example, let's say you need to pay your buddy for dinner, or just to keep him quiet about your current hideout. No more need for complicated clicks or even the internet. Just simply toss him a bag of cash. Because with Bag of Cash, there'll be no record you paid him, and he'll have plausible deniability that you even exist. So what are you waiting for? Try Bag of Cash today, and remember, with Bag of Cash, your cash is in the bag. Bag of Cash is available wherever they have bags. Cash not included. For larger transactions, upgrade to our pillowcase of cash. Or mattress of cash. That was a good laugh back there. I like that. All right, you stuck with me on that. All right. There were some ups and downs in that one. All right, cool. So I was talking about my dad. I have another parent. My mom. And she is here tonight in the dark. Let's hear it for my mom. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Wow, that's probably the biggest applause you ever got, Mom. That's good. Yeah, of course, I love my mom. My mom is 80, and sorry, I don't normally call out your age, Mom, but I need it for the joke, so. And I know you're very supportive, so. But yeah, my mom is 80, and she lives in Florida. And, I go to visit her from time to time. The last time I visited her was about 5 or 6 months ago. And usually, when I visit her, she picks me up at the airport. But this time, my flight was scheduled to get in real late at night. So she called me the day before, and she was like, Neal, you know I like to pick you up at the airport. You know I do. But I'm 80 now. And I just don't trust myself anymore to stay awake on the road late at night. So I don't think it's that safe for me to pick you up. However, I know this guy that does airport runs. I could arrange to have him pick you up. I think that would be much safer. Is it okay if I do that? And I said, yeah, sure, Mom. That's fine. I mean, you're 80 now. Makes sense. No problem. So anyway, the next day, I arrive there. The guy picks me up. We start talking. Turns out he's 78. I'm sitting in the car like, maybe I misunderstood whose safety my mom was looking out for here, you know? She's home safe. Meanwhile, my life's in the hands of Rip Van Winkle. I was terrified, you know? It's a white knuckle ride to my mom's, you know? But I had a nice visit at my mom. She lives in a lovely retirement community. And she really enjoys retirement. She has a great time. And I, for one, haven't thought much about my own retirement until this year. Because apparently, when you're turning 50, an automatic notification goes out to every organization in the world that it's time to talk retirement with this guy. Yeah, like when I got home from my mom's, there was an envelope waiting for me in the mail. It was an invitation to join AARP. The American Association of Retired Persons, you know. I remember I looked at the envelope, I'm like, I ain't joining now. Oh, whoa, hey, wait a second. Free car trunk organizer. And 15% off at Denny's. Well played, AARP. So I joined AARP. And my trunk's very organized now. The internet knows I'm 50. Oh, yeah. the pop-up ads have changed drastically. It's like, need reading glasses? Have lower back pain? Are you peeing all the time? I'm like, yes, kind of, you know. And last week, one popped up and it said, will you be able to retire early? Try our retirement calculator to find out. So I did the retirement calculator, and it spit out its results. And actually, it was very interesting to look at. It showed me that the sooner I want to retire, the more I got to do to make that happen, like exponentially more, right? So for example, it said, if I want to retire at age 60, I need to find a way to save an extra $1,000 a month. But then it said, if I want to retire at age 55, I need to find a way to save an extra $7,000 a month. And then it said, if I want to retire this year, I need to find a way to die next year. So it really goes up. Give me something to think about, you know. I showed the results to my wife. She's like, so like when next year would you have to... Let's not rule anything out, you know. So since close to turning 50, the last time I got a checkup, my doctor said it was time for me to get my first colonoscopy. Yes, and for those of you that have gotten a colonoscopy, and I sense a lot of you have, not judging, if you've gotten one, you know that the day before, to prep for it, you can't eat any solid food, right? You have to do like an all-liquid diet for the 24 hours leading up to it. So I did that, did what I had to do. I showed up at the hospital the next morning, and they started prepping me. They put me in the hospital gown. They gave me an IV. And then at some point, a nurse walked into my little curtained-off area, and she was like, good morning, Mr. Rosen. You're almost prepped for your procedure, but one thing I need to do is ask you a bunch of yes or no questions. I have about 50 of them. Is it okay if I ask you these questions? And I said, yeah, sure, go ahead. She said, thanks, Mr. Rosen. Okay, question one, and this is really the most important question, have you eaten any solid food in the last 24 hours? And I said, nope, I haven't. She said, great. And then she asked me the rest of the questions, and she said, Mr. Rosen, you're all set for your procedure. We'll be in shortly to get you. I said, thank you. And then she walked out of my little curtained-off area, and I could hear her as she talked to the next patient in the next area. And she was like, good morning, ma'am. You're almost prepped for your procedure. One thing I need to do, though, is ask you a bunch of yes or no questions. I have about 50 of them. Is it okay if I ask you these questions? And I heard what sounded like an older woman say, sure, honey. You could ask me your questions. Go ahead, shoot. And so the nurse said, okay, thank you, ma'am. The first question, and this is really the most important question, have you eaten any solid food in the last 24 hours? And the woman was like, oh, have I eaten any solid food in the last 24 hours? You know, honey, I can't remember. And the nurse was like, gee, ma'am, we're going to do a colonoscopy here. It's really important that you try to remember. You sure you can't remember if you ate any solid food? And she was like, I'm trying to help you out, honey. I just have a bad memory. But you know what? My husband is in the waiting room, and he remembers everything. So I bet if you ask him, he'll remember if I ate any solid food in the last 24 hours. And the nurse was like, geez, ma'am, that's not how we're supposed to do things. But you know what? Under the circumstances, I'll go get your husband. Meanwhile, I'm riveted on the other side of the curtain. I'm like right up against it. Is the husband going to remember? Did she eat any solid food? You know? I'm hoping they don't get me yet. I'm like, I got to know, you know? So anyway, I heard the nurse and the husband come back, and the nurse was like, okay, sir, thank you for coming back here. What we need to know is, did your wife eat any solid food in the last 24 hours? And the guy said, what? And the nurse repeated, sir, did your wife eat any solid food in the last 24 hours? And the guy said, what? You're going to have to speak up, honey. I can't hear very well. And you can feel the nurse's tension just start to rise. She was like, sir, did your wife eat any solid food in the last 24 hours? He said, what? She said, sir, did your wife eat any solid food in the last 24 hours? I was like, you should write it down for him. Hey, you should write it down for him. But I didn't actually say that. Because I didn't want to ruin the show. So the nurse just kept getting louder. She was like, "Sir, did your wife eat any solid food in the last 24 hours?" He said, "What?" She said, "Sir, did your wife eat any solid food in the last 24 hours?" He said, "What?" She said, "Sir, did your wife eat anything for breakfast yesterday, for lunch, for dinner? Did she eat anything at all in the last 24 hours?" And he was like, oh, I hear you now, honey. I hear you. Calm down. I got you. No. She didn't eat any solid food in the last 24 hours. And you could feel the nurse exhale, and she was like, "All right. Well, that's question one." Then the guy said, Wait. Are noodles solid food?" And the nurse was like, "Yes, sir, yes, of course. Noodles are solid food. Of course they are. Why? Did she eat noodles in the last 24 hours?" He said, "No. I was just wondering." And then like a moment later, someone came into my curtained off area and said, "Mr. Rosen, we're ready to take you." And now I'm like, "Oh, please, not now. They have like 49 more questions. I'm not gonna miss that. No. I'm probably good. My first one, you know." Folks, some jokes just write themselves. For reals. That's the conversation that happened next week. And I'm not a fan of reality TV, but I would pay a healthy monthly subscription to follow that couple around as they navigate their day. Absolutely. Thanks for sticking with me on that. Jeez. That takes a lot of faith. Thank you. I had to get the colonoscopy. And being the age I am now, I'm finding I need to go to the doctor a lot. You know, colonoscopy, eye doctor, dermatologist, all sorts of things. More than ever. And I don't even mind meeting with a doctor. I don't mind it. But it's such a pain to have to go to a different doctor for each different thing on a different day and time. Like, that's the painful part, you know? So I came up with this idea for a new kind of medical service business that they should have. And guess what? I wrote a commercial for it. So this is my commercial for a new kind of medical service business that I think they should have. All right, here we go. Are you tired of having to go see all those different doctors each year? The dentist, the dermatologist, the eye doctor. I mean, where does it end, folks? Where does it end? Right? Don't you wish you could just go once a year to one place, have them knock you out for a few weeks, and just take care of everything? Well, now you can. Dr. Noah Hole, the world-renowned gastroenterologist, cardiologist, endocrinologist, oncologist, dermatologist, and hairstylist, has teamed up with Dr. Allison Kitt, a pioneer in gynecology, neurology, ophthalmology, rhinoplasty, and body waxing. And they have further teamed up with dentist Dr. Kimberly Caboodle to form the world's first one-stop human body shop. Yes, that's right. Whole kit and caboodle. Those were the doctors' names. Yeah. You guys caught up? You good? Good job. At Whole Kit and Caboodle, every hole, cavity, crevice, sac, cell, pore, and hair of your body will be probed, scoured, scanned, scrubbed, shaved, and styled. So why don't you say goodbye to your family for a while? Could be a long while. Come on down to Whole Kit and Caboodle. Every hole in your whole body will be so glad you did. Whole Kit and Caboodle is not in any way associated with Whole Foods. No. Not at all. Thank you. You stuck with me on that too. All right, thank you. So how are you guys doing with all these high prices and inflation, right? It's tough, right? My wife and I, we're trying to find ways to save money. But it's really hard because she loves to buy stuff. Like, a lot, you know? And I try to stop her, but it's difficult, you know? Because we'll be out, and she'll be like, look, Neal, these shoes are 10% off. I'm like, yeah, honey, but they're still 90% on. Okay? We gotta focus on the on, honey. It's the part we need to give them, okay? Focus on the on. But yeah, we're trying to find ways to save money. One thing we did a few months ago is we canceled cable. Figure we cancel cable, just have a couple of streaming services, try to save some money. So I had to call the cable company to cancel our service. Is anyone here like me where you feel the need to lie to the agent on the phone about why you're canceling something like that? You guys with me on that? Yeah, I always feel the need to lie because I've made up my mind beforehand. I want to cancel, and I don't want to leave the guy any room to convince me to stay, so I lie. So anyway, when I called the cable company, I waited for the agent to get on, and after a while, the agent finally got on. He was like, oh, good morning, Mr. Rosen, loyal customer of 12 years. What can I do for you this morning? I said, hey, well, good morning. Unfortunately, I'm calling to cancel our service. And he was like, oh, no, Mr. Rosen. I'm really sorry to hear that. If you don't mind me asking, what's your reason for cancellation? I said, well, we're moving. He said, oh, you're moving? Well, we could just transfer. I said, no. You didn't let me finish. We're moving to jail. Yeah. My wife and I, we tried to rob a bank. Got caught, obviously. In fact, I'm at the jail now using my one call. And it turns out they have cable here at the jail, so if you could just cancel our account, that'd be great. And he did. No questions asked. Feel free to use that if you'd like. So since we canceled cable, after that, my wife and I then had to figure out which streaming services we need to watch all the shows we like. And it turns out we need all of them. Yes. What a racket, right? They make it so you need all of them, you know? They're like, oh, you want to watch The Mandalorian? Well, you need this one, right? You're a big 90 Day Fiancé fan? Well, you need this other one, you know? This one here has all the live sports from Minnesota. So they make it so you need all of them, yes. But we don't actually have all of them. That'd be kind of ridiculous. We have like 3 or 4, like most people. You guys the same, right? 3 or 4, something like that. So we have our 3 or 4 streaming services. Our friends have like some different streaming services, which leads to some awkward conversations sometimes, right? Because people get very passionate about certain shows. You know, like recently a friend of mine was telling me about that movie Coda, and he was like, oh, Neal, I saw the movie Coda. It was fabulous. I really think you should see it. I thought of you when I saw it. And I was like, hey, thanks, man. A great recommendation. I'll watch it. What's it on? And he said, it's on Apple Plus. I said, oh, I don't have Apple Plus. And he was like, oh, man, sorry. I didn't know. And he said that like he'd asked about a parent he didn't know passed away, you know. But then he was like, wait a second, Neal. Hold on. I don't get it. If you don't have Apple Plus, then how do you watch Ted Lasso? And he said that like, how do you breathe? And I said, oh, I haven't seen Ted Lasso. He was like, oh my God, Neal. I thought you guys were doing okay. We're friends, you gotta tell me these things. I'm here for you, but I gotta know, you know? And I'm like, well, if it's that important, can I borrow your Apple Plus login? He said, oh, it's really just about soccer. Yeah, I don't think. You probably won't like it. Yeah. So, speaking of the high prices, a lot's been written about gas prices, right? So, I filled up a few days ago. You know what I like about filling up a gas tank these days? I like the little screens they have for you to entertain you while you're pumping your gas, right? I love those. They show like sports highlights, news clips, stuff like that. I've seen something new on those little gas pump screens the last 6 months that I hadn't seen before. They now show the vocabulary word of the day. Has anyone come across that? Yeah. People like it. Okay, good. Yeah, I was kind of shocked to see that, right? Like the other day, my vocabulary word was pilgrimage. So it had the full definition of pilgrimage, part of speech, use it in a sentence. You know, and I like it. You know, they're trying to raise the vocabulary level of society through the gas pumps. It's a very noble idea. I don't think it's going to work, though. No, because, I mean, I'm at the gas station once a month now. Most people aren't driving that much. So I really don't think it's going to have a big effect on the vocabulary level of society. However, I do think for the people that hang out at the gas station all the time, oh, their vocabulary is going to go through the roof. Like the guys that come up and ask you for money while you're pumping your gas, they're going to become scholars. You know, eventually one of those guys would come up and be like, "Pardon me, kind sir, but I'm on a pilgrimage betwixt my home metropolis of New Orleans and my mother's humble abode within the vast desert expanse of West Texas. But much to my chagrin, my mother is afflicted with consumption, and only I possess her requisite pharmaceutical. But alas, my motorized conveyance is lacking in refined petroleum. So if I may be so bold to ask, kind sir, you got any spare banknotes? Any denomination will do." And I'll be like, "Keep stepping, dog. I can tell you're a scammer with that big gas station vocabulary. Can't fool me." No. So a little tip for you, if they say betwixt, don't give them any money. No, that's not. It's a scam. Yeah. So speaking of money, cryptocurrency is hot, right? Who here owns some cryptocurrency? Wow. Very progressive crowd. Yeah, you're like me. I don't have any cryptocurrency because it scares me, right? I'm scared of it. I think it's because of those articles the last couple of years about people that lost all their cryptocurrency because they like misplaced an old hard drive, you know? I lose shit all the time, you know? I feel like that would definitely happen to me. So I've been scared to get cryptocurrency, but I have an idea for a new kind of cryptocurrency that you couldn't possibly lose. And I have more than just the idea, folks. I have a commercial, yes. I'm really glad you guys have liked the commercials because I have a lot of them. It would have been a long night. Here's my commercial for cryptocurrency you couldn't lose. Are you scared of cryptocurrency? Does all that blockchain and Bitcoin mumbo jumbo just intimidate and confuse you? Well, that was me until I found ThoughtCoin. Yes, ThoughtCoin. The newest and most simple cryptocurrency around. See, with ThoughtCoin, you don't need a computer or a hard drive or the internet or even electricity for that matter. Because ThoughtCoin is stored right up here in your thoughts. Yeah. And ThoughtCoin is so easy to use, so easy. For example, let's say you want to send some ThoughtCoin to a friend. All you got to do is just think it over. Yeah, you think about sending it, he thinks about receiving it. Transaction complete. That's it. And you'll also be very happy to know that ThoughtCoin is completely transferable with all of your sneeze coin and fart coin. So you can redistribute your thoughts, sneezes, and farts any which way you need to. So what are you waiting for? Try ThoughtCoin today, and remember, with ThoughtCoin, it's all in your head. Thanks. ThoughtCoin is brought to you by the makers of SoulCoin. Money stored in your soul. Who says you can't take it with you? All right. That was like a throwaway line. You guys got that. I like it. I'll be selling some ThoughtCoin after the show. Cash only, definitely, for sure. It was beautiful the last couple of days, but we kind of got the hot weather starting to come. I was reading that we're going to have a really tough hurricane season. Like it's going to be one of the busiest ever. Climate change? Do you think climate change is real? What do you guys think? Yes. Bark it out. Is climate change real? Yes. I hear some no's. I hear some yeses. I know. It's a controversial subject. I think it's real. I think it's real because I have some hard evidence. Hard evidence. You want to hear my evidence? Yes. Okay, here's my hard evidence. I moved to Texas from the Northeast 25 years ago. And when I first moved down here, when my friends from the Northeast would call me, they'd ask me questions about Texas. They'd be like, you wearing a 10-gallon hat yet? You got a horse? You got a 6-shooter? Stuff like that. Last couple of years, though, when my friends from the Northeast call me, the only thing they ask me is, hey, are you okay? Because we were watching the news, and they showed some guy kayaking and down the highway there in Houston. You good, bud? So that's my hard evidence, folks. So whoever said no, put that in your data bank. And, but yeah, it's supposed to be a busy hurricane season. I sure hope we don't get hit with a hurricane in Houston, right? Can we all agree on that? Yes? Nobody's pro-hurricane, right? We are aligned on that. Yes. Yeah, and I don't want us to get hit with a hurricane for all the normal reasons. It causes damage. It's dangerous. But I also have a very personal reason that I don't want us to get hit with a hurricane again in Houston, and that is, when we get hit with a hurricane, it's a direct affront to my manhood. Let me explain. The moment a hurricane hits, what's the most important thing for a man to be? Anybody? Handy, yes. You need to be handy. You need to be able to fix things, knock things down, use tools and stuff. It's just not my bag, you know? I have like 2 tools in my garage. I have a hammer and a tennis racket. So unless this helps, I'm not... Yeah, but really, when a hurricane hits for that week or 2 after, the handy guys become like the supreme leaders of the neighborhood, and I become their little errand boy. Because I'm useless, you know? I run up to them like, hey guys, I don't know how to do anything, can I help? They're like, oh, Neal, you know, they just send me off to get them things, you know? Like I'll run into Home Depot with a note pinned to my shirt, you know? I'm like, excuse me, do you have any wood? Oh, it's probably wood. Do you sell wood here? I've never been here. Yeah, I don't know. It's humiliating. I remember one time, one of the handy guys was like, hey, Neal, listen, we need a sledgehammer. Run down to Sam's house and borrow a sledgehammer. I'm like, all right, cool. So I ran down to Sam's house. I was like, hey, Sam, we need to borrow a sledgehammer. And he was like, yeah, sure, Neal. You can borrow a sledgehammer. What size do you need? I was like, you have more than one, Sam? Yeah. He's like, yes, I have a whole set of sledgehammers. What size do you need? And I was like, what size sledgehammer? Venti? Grande? I no idea what I'm talking about, Sam. So humiliating. And by the way, how manly do you have to be to own a set of sledgehammers? What the hell, Sam? You know? Made me feel this big. So of course Sam asked me some questions and was able to figure out which size sledgehammer I needed, you know. So I walked off carrying the sledgehammer like a little boy. I'm like, thanks for the sledgehammer, Sam. If you ever need a tennis racket, I'm your man, so to speak. You guys are listening hard. I need a drink real quick. Hold on. You know what I wonder? When do you think they started having American history class? Right? Like, did they have American history class back in, say, 1777? When the country was 1 year old? Probably not, right? Been too soon. But look, think about it. There had been a number of years where there was no American history class, and then there was, right? Like at some point, someone important must have stood up and said, all right, everybody, enough stuff has happened. We need a class. And look, I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to when American history class first started, but I do think whenever that was, the class would have been really easy back then. Yeah, the teacher would have been like, all right, kids, for homework tonight, I want you to memorize all 2 presidents. I know. Quiz tomorrow. Oh, and for extra credit, you can attend one of the battles this weekend. Make sure both generals sign your permission slip, or we are not counting it. No. And Bobby, I know your uncle's a general, so no forgery. I never liked American history class. That's why I asked that question many times in my life, especially when you had to write an essay. Like, it had to be 500 words or something. Like, I never had 500 words of legitimate thoughts and knowledge. But so I would just restate the essay question every which way I could to take up as many words as possible. We all did that, right? Yes? Yeah, like if the essay question was something like, compare and contrast the cultures and economic conditions of the North and South leading into the Civil War. I'd start writing, in the following essay, I will compare and contrast the cultures and economic conditions of the North and South leading into the Civil War. Just to be clear, to compare and contrast means to find similarities and differences between two things. And in this case, those two things are the North and the South. And just to be even more clear, we're talking about the United States of America here. Not South Vietnam and North Vietnam, not South Korea and North Korea, not South Africa and North Africa. So please join me on this journey of exploration into the cultures and economic conditions of the northern states of the United States of America and the southern states of the United States of America, leading into the Civil War of said United States of America. I'll be using Arial 12 font with the occasional bold and underline, and maybe an italic. And I'm like, all right, 495. I think the North won. Done. Yay. B-. Thank you. Well, folks, we are in the home stretch here. Oh, thank you. Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, we're in the home stretch here. I really only have one more joke for you, but I want to take the opportunity, before I get off after that, to thank you again for being here. You can clap if you'd like. Yeah, it's you guys have been awesome. I've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed it. So again, just thank you for being here. All right, this is my last joke. This joke is about a fantasy I have, and it centers around those Modelo beer commercials. You guys know those commercials? Yeah. You know the music from it? Yeah. Isn't that the best, that music? Yeah. I love that music. So inspiring. It's in my head all the time. I'll be at the supermarket checkout you know. Cashier's like, you okay, sir? I'm like, I'm great. Back off, you know. No, I love the music, and I love the commercials. They tell these very inspiring, gritty stories about people that have overcome poverty and homelessness to achieve their dreams. You know, one guy becomes a tattoo artist to the stars, and that's his dream. So my fantasy is that they'll make a Modelo beer commercial about me. Yeah, they'll reach out and make one about me. I don't think it's going to happen, though. No, because I haven't had those kind of obstacles in my life. I don't really have a gritty story to tell. So to fulfill my fantasy, I've went ahead and wrote a Modelo beer commercial myself about myself. So this is my Modelo beer commercial about me. DJ, let's hit it. If Neal Rosen didn't have a supportive middle-class upbringing, he may never have had a job with a 401k plan. And if Neal had not attended his HR department's webinar about 401k company matching contributions, he may have missed out on steady, pre-tax retirement fund growth. And if Neal had listened to those who said, put everything you own into GameStop, he wouldn't have the medium-sized 401k fund he has today. That's the fighting spirit. That's what makes a lion. Modelo, brewed for those with the fighting spirit like me. All right, everybody, thanks very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.